Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this episode, we are going to create this confetti animation in React Native. We'll be using React Native Fast Confetti. That's a package for creating confettis, and it's powered by React Native Skia under the hood and React Native Reanimated plus gesture handler to create this pan animation. We are also going to use math to determine the distance that the user has panned, based on which we are also going to apply a rotation to each individual item, and whenever the user is going to release the finger, we are going to snap back into place that particular item with a really nice curved transition. On top of that, I'm also going to show you how to move from the UI thread to the JavaScript thread in order to call, for example, hey, play this confetti. So without further ado, let's jump straight into VS Code and start building this confetti animation with gestures. Shall we? Alrighty guys, so we are in VS Code here. I've created the project using Expo, but we also need a couple of dependencies for this. So go ahead on the terminal and type ban expo install. We need React Native Reanimated, React Native gesture handler, Shopify, React Native Skia, and React Native Fast Confetti. And the reason for the Skia is because React Native Fast Confetti depends on the Skia package. So hit enter, wait for everything to install, and now we can just start the bundler. We have a blank project, but now we actually have the packages installed. So the first thing that I would like to create is the confetti itself. And let's play around with the pie confetti from React Native Fast Confetti, which is this burst type of confetti that you can specify an origin and is going to, do the thing. So let's start by importing from React Native Fast Confetti the pie confetti. Let's render it on the screen. So I'll say pie confetti, and for now I'll just say, the colors are going to be some confetti colors. And I already have created some confetti colors, so let me paste them here. So this is just an array of different colors. Now hit save and reload the page. Nothing is going to happen. And the reason is that initially I would like to tap on the screen, set the position based on wherever I pressed or touched the screen XY values, and set them to the pie confetti and run the animation. So let's start by creating some state here, and I'll do const position set position is going to be a use state where I'll have an x0 and y0. Basically it's an XY coordinate. Right? And whenever you press on this view, I would like to set the state with the XY positions. So I'll go to the view itself and I'll say on touch start, I'll get the event and I'll do set position with X as native event dot location X and the same for Y. So now we have the position, and now we need to run the animation and also pass the position of the blast, where to start that pie confetti. So I'll go to the pie confetti and I'll do blast position is going to be X as position X and Y as position Y. Okay. Now hit save, and again nothing is going to happen because we set the position but we don't start the animation pretty much. And I'll create a ref as ref and go here to the top, and I'll do const ref. It's equal to a use ref that's coming from React Native as confetti methods, and initially is going to be null. And with this ref in mind, because we have set it to the pie confetti, after we set the position, we can say ref current and then restart. Now hit save, and suddenly, poof, we have some confettis on the screen. Isn't that nice? Great. Now I would like to change a couple of things. And I will start by the blast duration, which is going to be really fast. So 150. Oof. You see that it's happening really fast. And I'll also like to change the duration of the polling to, let's say, 1200 milliseconds. Now hit save. So it's moving really, really fast. Size variation. So I'll do 0.9. I'll just vary a bit the sizes. I'll also like to fade out when they approach the end of their life pretty much. And on top of that, I will also like to specify the height of this confetti. So as you can see now, it's is moving really fast, you know. And I would like to specify the height be the position Y. So each time, whenever, it doesn't matter wherever you are pressing on the screen, it's going to move with the same animation based on that particular touch point, you know. And now we pretty much have the confettis. Yoo-hoo-hoo! And now I would like to actually render some items or some images on the screen, apply some gestures, and whenever you are releasing the gesture and we snap back into place, based on that item position, I'm gonna set the position, basically measure the position of the item on the screen, measure that, get the XY values, apply them to the confetti and trigger the confetti. So let's start by creating the images. And the items themselves, I already have some images here for Animate, React Native, Expo, React, and Software Mention. So those are the images that we are going to use in our example. In your example, maybe they are coming from an API, from somewhere else, you know. But this is just some dummy data that we can play around, and it's just for the example purpose, right? And here, as a sibling of this PyConfetti, I would like to render the images. So I'll iterate over the images, the image and the index, and render here a view, and inside this view an image. And this image is going to have a source of URI image, and I'll apply some styles. I don't know, style, I'll do width, item size, aspect ratio is going to be 1. Let's import the image from React Native. Forget to specify a key, image, index, you know. Now let's define the item size. I'll go here const item size, let's say 60. Hit reload, and this is actually images by the image, right? So now hit save, and we have all the images. I'll also do resize mode contain. So everything is going to be contained, right? Nothing is going to happen now, but we have the images, and this image I would like to wrap into a view so I can style it properly. And this view is going to have some styles. I will set the item size to the container itself and remove this width and apply a flex 1. Basically, I moved the size of this image based on the container size, pretty much. Let's do also height of item size, a border radius of 16. I'll also add a padding of 8 and a background color of white. Border width of 1. You'll see this is one item. And the thing is that this entire view that contains the image, I would like to pass it as the children to a component that's going to also be responsible for the gesture handler. So instead of defining here the gestures, I would like to have a reusable component that's just responsible, you know, for the panning, for setting some states and whatever, and rendering inside it as a children whatever I'm passing here. So if I copy this and create an item and pass this entire view as a children, all right, and this item, let's create this because it doesn't exist, and I'll do here function item is going to return some view and then pass the children, right? Nothing really special here. But this type of item is going to accept a couple of properties, right? So I'll do some props as item props. And the item props, the type of the item props, it's React children with props, and the props are going to be basically set the position, which is equal to exactly the set position from here. So I'll just copy the type here, copy the type, paste it here, click save. Okay, and now this is going to accept the children, also some styles, and of course the set position. Okay, and apply the style as style, sorry, and the children as children. Here also don't forget to add view props, you know. So I'll have the item props and also the view props. Okay, the item props is basically props with children this is one object and the other, like all the other view props. Okay, so now we have those items, and now we can actually append some gesture detectors. So I would like to be able to pan around any element on the screen and move it. So what I will need to do is, first of all, I would like to wrap this entire view with a gesture detector, and I can pass some gestures. And in our case, I will do just pan gesture. And let's create the constant here. Pan gesture is going to be gesture from React Native gesture handler pan. We will be using 3 different events from this pan gesture. The first one is on begin. So on begin, we are going to measure this view position and send it to the parent via this set position callback. So we are going to use the measure from React Native Reanimated, and we are also going to have an on change. And this on change is basically going to modify an X and Y value, and we are going to listen to that and apply different animated style to the views. Const X it's equal to use shared value starting from 0. Const Y it's a use shared value, again starting from 0. When we are going to change it, well, X value is going to be the E translation X and translation Y for the Y, because we don't care about the change, we care exactly about the entire translation. And for the on begin, we can actually leave it for now as empty. Don't care that much about it. Now we have this error saying, you know, the gesture detector must be a descendant of gesture handler root view. And so if we go to the app itself, instead of exporting directly the app, we can export default gesture handler root high order component and then pass the app, you know. And now this component has the gesture handler root view. So now we can actually go back to our confetti, and we can, because we are changing basically the X and Y, we can style this view to modify the translate X and Y with a transform whenever these X and Y values are changed. Okay, so we can say here at the top, styles it's equal to use animated style, and we are going to return transform, and translate X is going to be X value, translate Y is going to be Y dot value. Okay, now if we hit save, copy these styles. Instead of a view here, we can convert this to be an animated view, so we can apply the reanimated styles. So I'll say animated coming from React Native Reanimated dot view, hit save, and the style plus the styles. So create an array of multiple styles. Hit save, hit reload here, and now we should be able to move the elements, you know? See, like we can move them. There are some issues, of course, because we don't change the elements once we move them around, but that's another thing. But now at least we can move them, okay, on the screen. There are 2 things that we need to do. Once you release the gesture, I would like to bring back that to the initial position. So for that, I'm going to use on finalize. And I am going to say, you know, the X value is going to be 0 and the Y value is going to be 0. So basically whenever you have finalized the pan gesture, I would like to revert everything. So hit reload here, and now whenever I'm moving, whenever I'm releasing the gesture, poof, is going to go back to the place. Look. See? Great. So this is one starting point, and I have showed you initially that we are going to use some nice animation, you know, and instead of just snapping directly into 0 whenever you finalize the gesture, I would like to say, you know, with timing, and I'll say with timing go to 0 with a duration of, let's say, 400 milliseconds. Okay, and let's import the with timing from React Native Reanimated and basically do the same for this Y value as well. And now whenever you release, look, you see it's moving with some animation. We can of course specify some easing functions, so do the same easing that's coming from React Native Reanimated in out by easing exponential. So it's going to move like is starting slow, and then is moving really fast, right? So look, it's like this is like a different timing function, you know, nothing fancy. You can play around with it. You can specify either an elastic one, a bouncy. You can use it with Spring as well. But as you can see, everything it's like it's just moving into like directly on the diagonal, you know. And I would like to somehow change that and make it more like a parabola or like a curve. And for that, I will just need to specify, you know, for the Y, actually the duration is going to be 500 instead of 400. So now I have a different duration for the animation from the finalized point to actually 0, 0, right? Now, look, you see what's happening? There is a small parabola, you know? And it's making, yeah, it looks way better, you know? Okay, and now I've said that initially when you begin, basically when you press on this element, what I would like to do is I would like to measure this position, this item position on the screen, and send it to the parent via this set position callback. Whenever we are going to release, when this is going to land into the initial position, I would like to trigger that confetti. There are multiple ways of doing this, but I'll be using the measure from React Native Reanimated. And for the measure to work, we actually need two different things. One is an animated ref, and one is the measure itself, right? So I'll say here, I'll pass an animated ref as a use animated ref. And this use animated ref, I would like to apply it to this animated view, right? So I'll say here, you know, the ref is going to be the animated ref. And now, because this is basically the container that I would like to measure, right? So if you have other containers that you like to measure, specify the ref to that particular container. Now, inside this onBegin function, what I would like to do is I would like to first set the measurements. So measurements is going to be measure that's coming from React Native Reanimated, our animated ref, so a ref. Now we can check, hey, you know, if there are no measurements, just return, you know, I don't care. And now we know that we have the measurements, and what we can do here, where we need to set position and basically pass the X as measurement on the page X. Page X, it's basically the absolute value of the X value relative to the screen size, right? And the Y is going to be measurements and page Y. It's the same thing. But now we actually, the X value is going to be directly at the edge, you know, of this element. The same for the Y is going to be this edge here. And I would like to add the measurements and the width of this element plus measurements, the height of the element divided by 2. So now this is the page Y, and I will add half of this item height. The same for the X. This is page X, and I will add half of this item height. So this is going to be directly in the center of this element. And I'll just save it, and you'll see that this is going to crash, and I will tell you why in a bit. So hit save, and now if I press on this, it's going to crash the app. Boom. And the reason is here, this entire closure runs on the UI thread, and we are trying to run a method that lives on the JavaScript side. We don't have access to it on the native side, you know? And we need to inform React Native Reanimated, hey, you know, for this specific callback, please run it on the JS thread instead of the UI thread. So we will avoid any crashes. Instead of calling directly the set position, I will say, you know, run on JS. Pass this set position, and runOnJS accepts another method. What are you going to call this set position with? And I'll call this with X and Y. Now if I hit reload, you'll see that crashing again. And the reason is if you are going to pay attention to this item, we actually need to set the set position as set position. We forgot to set that. So in our example, when the gesture was trying to run set position, it was running on undefined, crashing the entire application. Now if I hit reload, you'll see that there is no crash anymore. And what we can do with it, since we are setting the measurements and we come back to the origin place, what we can do instead of triggering this confetti when you press on the screen, what we can do is to trigger the confetti when, for example, this X timing function has finished. And let's go here to the set position, to the touch, just move this restart. We can move this to, let's say, to the item. We can say, you know, there is a start method that's going to call this ref current restart. And let's also define the start as a prop. So start is going to be void, okay? Now if I go on the touch start, we can actually remove this because we don't need it anymore. The confetti is not going to be shown anymore, but now we have access to the start method that's going to trigger that confetti. We also have the XY value, so everything is going to work pretty much beautifully, okay? But when are we going to trigger that? Well, if we go to the X value, when this timing function is going to finish, right? And the timing function has three different arguments. One is the to value, one is the configuration, and one is the callback when the animation has finished. And let's get that is finished, and we can check if it's finished. Then we are going to run the start. So instead of running directly as it is like this, because again we are on the UI thread, so native side, this is going to crash. And first, don't forget to import start, and when we call the start, we actually need to ensure that we are running it on the JavaScript side, okay? So finished. Hit save, and now what is going to happen when we first press on this item? We are going to measure it and set state with the XY values. Now we are going to change X and Y values as a translation X and translation Y using the gesture. And when we are going to release it, we are going to come back to the origin place X0, Y0 with a timing function. And when the timing function for the X axis is going to finish, we are going to run the confetti. Boom. Okay? Boom. Boom. Isn't that nice? Oof. Oof. It's amazing. There is one thing that I would like to fix, and that's the rotation. So as you can see right now, there is no rotation applied to this element. And what I would like to do is go back to this animate styles, and what I would like to do is to rotate this by some degrees. And the distance, it's actually it's like the distance math formula. It's math, the square root of the X value multiplied basically the power of 2 of the X value plus the power of 2 of Y value, everything squared, right? So this is the distance that it was traveled, okay? And now I would like to rotate based on this distance, and I'll go here to the rotation, and I'll do, you know, this is going to be the distance in degrees. And now if I hit save, you'll see that if I move, the faster I go, it's going to rotate, you know, it's just a small rotation. If I'm moving it, it's going to rotate, okay? And I can also apply initial random rotation to each individual element. So I'll say, you know, the initial rotation is going to be a use memo because I don't want to modify this all the time with an empty array as a dependency. And I will just return here a math, maybe a random between 10 and plus minus. So I'll do math random. If it's above 0.5, it's going to be -1, otherwise it's 1. This number multiplied by this random. A random as a positive or negative, and a number between 0 and 10. So this is going to give us like a degree between -10 and 10 exclusive. Initial rotation, I can add this initial rotation whenever we are calculating the distance, right? So I'll say hit reload, you see, you have a different rotation. Boof. So it's going to come in the same rotation, which is fantastic. Last thing that I'd like to show you guys is how you can actually position those elements in a circle, on the circle circumference. So I would like to, in order to do that, we need a couple of variables. And one is going to be how many items do we have? So number of items is going to be is images length, right? Then we can define the 2 pi, which is going to be math pi multiplied by 2. And then we are going to have the theta, which is the angle where we are going to position these items. So it's going to be 2 pi, which is the entire circle circumference, divided by the number of items. What's the angle to increment between the items, right? The circle. And now I can do like the circle radius, and I'll do circle radius is going to be based on the item size. So I'll do item size multiplied by 1.5, let's say, you know, I don't want to have it too much. So let's also copy this item size and position everything here just to have everything in a single place. Okay, now with this circle radius, we can calculate the X and Y value for each individual element based on the index. How to do that? Well, I can create here like a method, get X, for example, and I'll specify the index as a number, and I'll return here cosine of theta multiplied by the index. So this is going to give us like an angle. I need to multiply this by the circle radius, and I can also decrement by the item size. So I'm going to place this exactly on the circle circumference. So this is going to give you X value, and for the Y value, let me copy everything. It's actually the sinus, right? Okay, and with this get X and get Y, I can go to the item itself and specify, you know, the style for you. It's going to be position this absolute, and I'm going to say, you know, the left is going to be get X by the index, and the top is going to be get Y by the index. And now we are positioned them on a circle. So if we are going to add, let's say, another React Native Reanimated, you know, it's like they're going to be really nicely positioned here. If I'm going to have another one, another software mention, let's say, software mention 2, I can have like how many are there? 1, 2, 6, right? So if I do the math correctly, is like the angle between them is like 60 degrees, right? So 360 degrees divided by 6 is going to be 60, and so on and so forth. So everything is dynamically calculated. Of course, we can go even deeper and based on the item size also define the circle radius, because if we are going to add another one, I believe they are going to overlap. Now I need to add another expo, so expo 2. Okay, not even now. Let's add another one. So now they overlap, you know, and when they are overlapping with each other, we can actually calculate that and shrink down the size or increase the circle radius. But yeah, for now, everything should work just fine for our example. We are not here to learn more about trigonometry, you know, it's just about some animations. You know, but I don't like to start from zero. Usually this is like the first image, which is basically I would like to start it from a perpendicular way, not a parallel to the ground, you know. And to do so, I actually need to come to the angle calculation here, and I'll say, you know, the theta and the index pi divided by plus this one. Or I could easily do 2 pi divided by 4. But anyway, so this is basically saying, you know, just offset it with 1/4 of the entire circle. So it's like 90 degrees, you know. If I could do like divided by 3. So because I don't like to start everything as a cross, you know, like I think this it's even better. So it's like offset everything by pi divided by 3, which is roughly 60 degrees, you know. I'm just offset it, everything. And the last thing that I would like to create here, when those images are going to appear, I would like to animate them using the layout animations, or entering and exiting, or mounting and unmounting. And I can go to the item itself, and I can specify here to this view, convert this to be an animated view, and the entering is going to be zoom in, and zoom in is going to come from React Native Reanimated. I can specify a damping of, let's say, 12, so I'll make this really springy. Also apply a springify, damping as a 12, and I would like to make this as a stagger animation, so I need to delay by the index, and I'll say, you know, stagger it by 250 initially, plus index multiplied by, what's the stagger going to be, multiplied by 100. So it's going to be, also add a dot here, so they will appear with you know, a delay based on the index. So the initial delay is going to be 250, and based on the index it's either 250, 350, 450, and so on, right? So this is the initial delay, and another delay based on the index. So we can create this stagger effect, you know, fantastic. Next, I would like to just quickly do some UI things, and one of them is adding a blurred image in the background as a blob, you know, and I already have the image itself, so is this BG orb, and I also have an animated image that I would like to position somewhere. I will see where I am going to position this. So it's going to sit below everything, and let me paste this. So this is the animated image, right? So we have an animated image animated from React Native Reanimated. I'm applying an entering animation to it. I specify the source as the BG orb, and I'm positioning this absolute. I'm also specifying those circle radiuses, you know, as a height and as a width. And I'm also applying like the new filter from the latest React Native Reanimated based on the platform. So import platform from React Native as a blur of 20 pixels and also blur radius. So I'm just blurring this in the background, you see? And like magic, this is how it's going to look like, which I find it really nice. So if I'm going to uncomment the blur, this is our orb. Nothing fancy, but it's something just to add a little bit of something. It's better. I think it's way better. And now I can also go and do the border width. I can remove the border width because we don't need it anymore, because we have something in the background that's going to emphasize, hey, this is the item, you know. We can of course add some shadows, and it's up to you, you know, to style it as you'd like. Now if I hit refresh, because of this entering of the orb, so where we have the orb here, as I zoom in and we have a different delay, you'll see that they appear with the stagger. Boop, boop, you see? It reload. Boop, boop, boop. It's nicer, you know? It's just nicer. That was it, guys. I hope you've learned something new. You like this tutorial. You learn how to apply some confetti, but also how to have or to create some gesture handler in order to modify the XY position. Also set something as a callback via runOnJS if you're on a UI side or native side. And yeah, I hope that you liked it and you've learned something new. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and also press the ring bell to be notified whenever I'm posting something new. And yeah, otherwise, see you in the next video. Thank you very much.